on WebEx and on YouTube Live. And welcome to UOB's Campus Speaker Series on how you can use your tech knowledge to change banking. I'm Hwee, and with me, I have Ms. Susan Hwee, the Head of Group Technology and Operations at UOB. We are excited to have all of you here today and welcome to the event. So to introduce a little bit about myself, I'm a Management Associate from the 2019 batch in Group Technology and Operations, and I'm your moderator for today's session. I joined UOB last year, and I've gone through rotations in GTO, Global Markets, Market Risk Management, and currently I'm with Group International Management. Okay, enough about me. Let's actually shift the focus to what you're here for, and then I can introduce our distinguished speaker to you. Today's session is split into two parts. First, we'll listen to Susan as she shares her experiences and tell us more about technology and why it's relevant in the banking sector. By then, I'm sure you will have questions to ask Susan. So we'll pause the sharing for our first Q&A segment regarding the topic. Then, the second part is where you'll hear more from me for the Management Associate Program, along with useful application tips. Finally, we'll end the session with another Q&A segment to answer any burning questions you may have. Since it's a virtual session, please feel free to share your questions with us anytime throughout the session. Don't be shy and keep the questions coming. So before that, some house rules on how to ask questions. Firstly, on the screen to the bottom for WebEx users, you can click on More Options, then click on the Help button to share your questions. And under Ask, please select all panelists so me and Susan can see your questions. Now, let's start the session by introducing our speaker for today. As mentioned, Ms. Susan Hwee is the head of GTO, and she has more than 30 years of banking experience with an extensive track record in technology and operations. Without further ado, let's welcome Ms. Susan Hwee.
Thank you, Wei, and have a very good afternoon to all of you who has taken time to come in to hear what UOB is about. And obviously, for many of you who's looking to join the industry or starting to look for a career and where you could likely start, I'm very happy to have you here to share our perspective on how you could start, what you can do, and how a career in UOB can be your starting point to a wonderful journey as you bring about change in the world, right? For many of you, Group Technology and Operations, there's an industry term for CIO, the Chief Information Officer, right? So I'm the Group CIO for UOB. And I have been in UOB for coming to 20 years. So it's a great pleasure to be with you today. Wei, can you go to the next slide? Now, before I start, there will be a poll of all the questions. So as Wei has said, please put in your questions, and that we'll try to take as many questions as possible from all of you and to see how we can help guide you in your first step in a very important start of your career, and also in a very challenging COVID situation that we have right now. So happy, please continue your questions as we speak. Yeah. Now, some of you will know UOB and some of you may not be as familiar. Let me share with you what UOB is about. In UOB, we actually have more than 500 offices around the world, a lot of them in Asia. We have subsidiaries in China, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, besides Singapore. And across 19 other countries, we have overseas branches. So it is a real global organization, but with a high focus in Asia. And we have about 25,000 employees worldwide, majority in Asia, across all these countries that I've just mentioned. And within technology and operations, we are 5,000 strong of the 25,000. So 20%, slightly more, of our employees are all technology or in operations, which is the cornerstone and the heart of the banking operations in UOB. And in UOB, what we have done over the years is that we have standardized our entire operating platform and we have centralized it here in Singapore. So Singapore is the global software center, and we work with our local colleagues also in technology and operations in the various countries to deploy these standard applications and systems across, yet adapting them, changing them, and working with our local colleagues in our various countries to connect it into their payment networks as well as local ecosystems, which I'm going to touch on later. But what is very important for you all to understand is UOB is a highly values-driven organization. You can see our values on the slide: honorable, enterprising, united, and committed. And we are here for the long term. And because banking is a long-term business, all right? About our strategy, how do we differentiate ourselves compared to competition? This is where UOB provides a wonderful career platform for all of you because of the following. One, we are extremely customer focused, customer centric, but data rich. All right. Some of you who has done some research on us. If not, I advise all of you to go into YouTube and look at this digital bank that we have just launched last year in Thailand, one of the most creatively and digitally connected economies, focusing on young professionals and young families. And that is Tomorrow, TMWR. For those of you who are not familiar, look at YouTube and you have an idea of this digital bank that we have launched to a mobile first generation in Thailand. And we have just launched 2 weeks ago the same Tomorrow brand and digital bank in Indonesia. All right. Now, why have we chose those markets? Because they are growing markets in ASEAN. And for us, that's a very important market to tap. And we are now testing the beds with our digital platform, and the results are very encouraging. And it's one of those things that, when we talk about customers, we design it around our customers, we design it around data, but we want it for the long term. Yeah. And you can see how then we build those services in itself. One of the key things about the UOB platform is the various countries that we work on. Yeah. And in Malaysia, obviously, Thailand, China, Indonesia, while we are local banking subsidiary in those countries, but we are also parent owned by a Singapore bank. Hence, when we compete locally into those markets, we need to find a differentiation. And that differentiation was because of the extensive platform that we have. We want to be able to connect our customers into Asia. Yeah. And in this COVID situation where supply chains has been disrupted and so on, our connectivity has also been an advantage for our customers as they shift supply chain and we connect their businesses within Asia to keep the economy going. And that is a major differentiation, looking at supply chain, looking at the UOB branding, because we are truly an Asian brand that is regionally recognized in Southeast Asia and in China. More importantly, as this in the last few years, our strategy has always been looking, how do we look ahead in this digital era? At the end of the day, we are looking at what we termed as, this is the digital age. For all of you who are coming up to school, this is where the world becomes interconnected. That interconnection is what we want to look at, as the whole world has to be connected economically, socially, politically, through the digital age as well, right? And what we feel is very important is that banking in itself is a very important lifeline in the economy. And the economy will be going digital, and the digital economy. And we need to bring our businesses and to help them become digital while also embracing the new digital companies that are coming through. And we have used this term called collaborations. We have used this term called ecosystem partnerships before it was even popular. Yeah. And you can see within Singapore, you will hear us having connections or linking up with Grab to create value propositions for our customers. If you go into Thailand, you will find us heavily in Line, which is a social platform that is very unique in Thailand, very popular there. And you will find that everyone that we talk to right now, when we look at supply chain, we don't look at supply chains only in the what we term the traditional way, but also in the digital economy on supply chain and ecosystems, e-commerce, and so on, right? And we feel that's very, very important, that in order to be connected in the digital economy, we need to be openly embracing them and not create closed loops in the supply chain, because we need to bring everybody on. And banking is so crucial in order to uh, help the economy grow and prosper, right? Now, that's so much about the bank and our strategies, which is our footprint in Asia is very deep, deeper than many of the regional banks, and very broad. We cover a lot of the businesses, from consumer banking to SME to wholesale banking to markets. So in all these markets in Asia, we are a full commercial bank with deep branches, almost 500 offices scattered throughout these countries. We're extremely customer focused, here for the long term. So we want to make sure whatever we build is sustainable, hence the investment into all the technology platform that has unified our entire operations. And we are one of the few banks that has been able to do so successfully. More importantly, is also bringing our customers up into the digital world as we ourselves digitize to embrace the digital economy, right? That summarizes our strategy, our differentiation factor. And above all, we are looking for individuals with shared values, the values of being honorable in our dealings with our customers, here for the long term, and yet commercially viable. So enterprising, united, and committed to the region as we build our businesses, right? So that's so much for our business. Then let me share with you, what does it mean to all of you, right? So many opportunities. As a technology and operations, what is really exciting about a career in technology and operations is that all these changes, be it whether it is, how should I put it, in the business of consumer banking, on SME, or on corporate banking, or markets, they all need technology, and they all will have processes that require some form of operations, however we digitize, in order to support them. So it means that all these changes are enabled by technology and operations colleagues behind the scenes, creating, designing, and every step along the way, and seeing the fruits of our labor has been the greatest sense of achievement. Yeah. So for all of you who is looking for the sense of excitement, a sense of change, yet in technology and yet in enabling business, then TNO could be a career that's right for you, right? Now, besides that career point of view, what UOB, we have differentiated ourselves on several fronts. We give back a lot to the community that we operate in, right? Let me share with you just two examples. One, the arts community, not just in Singapore, but throughout Southeast Asia. Some of you may have followed if you have any creative interest in the artistic, in the art industry. we have the painting of the year, and I think we have done more than 35 years ongoing, and we have now spread it out towards our region. And we even have a regional painting of the year where we, support artists, emerging artists, established artists to propel their career into the world, right? That's one way of contributing back, because we believe part of our expression of our culture and our society and nation building is always through the art as well. The second one is we also believe in being very, very inclusive. Inclusive means also diversity. Yeah? So within the TNO family, I think the last count, we have more than 25 nationalities working throughout, yeah, of the 5,000 employees that we have. Gender mix between male and female is 50-50, is very, very balanced. And so you can see we are really an equal opportunities. Embracing talent is very important to us. You will also find in one of our department, embedded within the department, is what we call our scanning factory, our scanning unit that's digitizing all our documents, historical documents as well as current documents for customers who still prefer or where there are documents and readiness that has not been digital yet, we have to digitize these documents. This unit, the scanning unit, about 30% of our employees are people with what we term as deferring capabilities. We have young adults with us with autism, also those who are deaf, who are amongst us, and they do a fabulous job. So we are truly an equal opportunities employer. And it's a showcase actually within Singapore to see how employers can do a lot more. And this also was made possible through the use of technology, right? So for those of you who are again interested to find out what we do, please go into the web on the internet. You do the research, SG Enable, some of the May Day awards, labor awards, and all that. You can see UOB has been showcased, and we've been doing that for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And they are intrinsic part of our operations within TNO. So it is a diverse, full of different nationalities. For those of you and in your new skills going out, one of the key things besides technology is the ability to work across cultures. In Asia, with any talent that is able to bring onto the table to create a viable commercial value proposition that adds value to our customers and the bank, we embrace them. So, if you are looking for an environment too that gives you that cross-cultural dimension, besides creating technology solutions that drives the banking industry, TNO could be a starting point for you as well. All right. And UOB has that perfect platform for you to start a career. Even if you're not interested in technology and operations, there will be other business areas equally exciting in this digital era. As we expand and we grow our roots not just in Singapore, but across ASEAN and Asia. Okay, so with that, I come to maybe the formal close of an introduction, and I'll open the floor to questions.
So thank you for the insightful sharing, Susan. So from her insights, we can now understand more regarding the importance of technology and operations in the banking landscape, and how all of you have the capability to harness technological skills to bring about positive change. So to summarize a little about what Susan has mentioned about UOB, it is in fact a very values-driven organization. Honorable, enterprising, united, and committed are values that we hold close to our heart. And Susan also mentioned that being extremely customer focused is the key to get the bank in a strong position in the banking landscape today. Also, being regionally connected is an important part of taking care of all aspects of customer needs. With the rise in Asia becoming more important in the world economy, this is where UOB's regional strengths lie. Besides that, understand that banking itself is a cornerstone of the economy, and so is technology. Getting our customers to go digital is an essential task to enable sustained growth and prosperity in Asia. As such, the bank is looking for people with the same shared values as UOB, creating value and efficiency as well as enabling different business units digitally for the bank are actually some of the key contributions if you want to join GTO. Well, if you have learned many wonderful things from Susan's sharing, can you please click on the hand button below to give us a wave?
So I'll take questions. Either you can type them in, or if there's any one of you who wants to ask questions, I'm also happy to take on. I saw one question that talked about fintech, right? And how can one contribute in UOB, right? So fintech is financial technology, and these days it also includes digital banks, digital-only banks, which means the new digital bank licenses, for instance, that will be announced hopefully by the end of the year, that will bring even more interesting competition, yeah, to the landscape and diverse landscape. So it's a very, very good question. How can you contribute, right? Think about your generation. Your generation is one, I think, of privileged generation where you were born almost into the world where the world is already interconnected like this. You understand intrinsically, intuitively, from a customer experience angle, how to navigate and how to make user interfaces friendly, right? So you have a consumer lens to that. And that in itself already is valuable. So never underestimate that. Because within the bank, when we look at our tomorrow, right, the digital bank that I just mentioned, one of the key things that we did in there quite differently from the rest was that we design it from outside in, from the lens of a young professional or a young family. Like you all coming out of school as a young professional, what you'll be looking for as you embark in your journey and starting up. So customer experience, what we call design thinking, was really, really key. Yeah, but we have what the bank has is a lot of data, and so we wanted it customer centric, data heavy, but customer centric, in order to provide an experience that relates to an individual like a young professional coming out of school. All right, go and take a look at that. And so therefore, you can contribute. When you join as either a management, as what Zhang Wei's experience was, we actually bring our management associates through the different aspects of banking. We can teach you real banking, yeah? But what you could and should never forget is the lens as a customer or a user of that banking service. How can you bring it alive? What is the value to the customers? And therefore, how do you share that knowledge to create possibilities? So don't short sell yourself. What school has taught you is an analytical mind, ever questioning mind, but you can definitely contribute. Yeah, as you learn banking in the real world. And one of the key things in this COVID climate, what it has proven, is actually all the traditional banks in Singapore, traditional banks like UOB, we are ready, yeah, more than ever. And you know, we could all work from home. 80% of us were. I am still working from home, for instance. 80% of our colleagues were working from home during the height of the COVID circuit breaker, except key branches and key operations, because we still have a generation of customers who wants the face-to-face touch, and nothing builds trust and relationship by seeing a face during their moments of needs, be it in corporate world or in the consumer world, right? So that is what has sort of, the COVID has sort of given us an insight and really tested us our digital readiness. So payments, from instructions, from calls, whatever the customers prefer. Actually, the banks are ready, and UOB is more than ready, not just in Singapore, but actually throughout the 19 countries, as we undertook to bring everybody home across the world, because this pandemic is global in nature. Right? So that proven the resilience of our infrastructure and the readiness of the UOB globally in order to take on the digital challenge. So it is in a good state to welcome the digital competition that is to come. Yeah? I saw another question. Um, has COVID accelerated GTO's work in any way? And if yes, in what way? What is really interesting was that, as we were then sharing with our colleagues, the fact that we are having a webinar today, right? How do we work? We were doing work, co-sharing work. We were doing drawings of our schematics, processes, and all that as we work from home. Actually, all these tools were already available, but it took a lot of mindset change, right? Because it's about familiarity, your human habits, yeah. Because at the end of the day, we are still a social being, and banking was such that many of us were know each other, have lunch, or the informal organization and the building of those relationships. Now, because of the global pandemic, we all have to change our work habits overnight, and it's proven we can, including designing and building systems, right? So as we are progressing, projects have not stopped. We are still making changes, like the launch of tomorrow, for instance, 2 weeks ago. We're still in a pandemic. Huh? We are still, many of our colleagues, be it in Jakarta, in Singapore, in Thailand, and all that, we're still working from home. But life continues. We're still rolling out services during this period because we think these services are still valuable to our customers, and there is a need. So it hasn't stopped. But what it has proven is that our work habits can change and change very quickly, and we are adaptable. And so for me, the positive side of this is that it then opens up that, and give confidence to everybody, including our GTO colleagues. We all can manage remote operations. And remotely, because some our colleagues, because of essential services and the needs of our customers, we have to be physically back in the office. But the rest of us are working from home. As long as there are few of us working from home, we have to learn how to work remotely, and that's what we have done. Yeah, and we work remotely with all our colleagues around the region, from Thailand, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, especially during this COVID climate, the sharing of experiences. How do we avail services? How do we make changes as each country decides economically how they want to support the SMEs and corporates and individuals during this when countries were in a shutdown mode, right? Systems changes were made in order to accommodate relief programs and so on and so forth. And all this was made possible as a result of that infrastructure, and as a result of the GTO colleagues still making changes as we work remotely. So how it has accelerated that working habits is has accelerated, I think, awareness of our managers how to engage our staff and work as a team virtually. I think more importantly, it also opened up that if we can do this like this, we can then embrace talents even more readily and globally than ever before. So I think it's very exciting times, right? Now, what other questions there may be? I'm trying to see. There was one question, given this COVID climate, are we still investing in technology? Actually, surprisingly, we are continuing. I think we have affirmed as a strategy, we will continue to invest because we have to stay relevant to a changing world, and COVID will come to pass. When COVID comes to pass, things will continue, and therefore, what a better time than now uh, to invest in technology and to change also and to continues to evolve our processes, which is great news for T&O colleagues because for every investment is learning opportunity. Learning opportunity means career development opportunities as well as to grow our knowledge in our training because the best training comes on the job. Yeah? There was one question asked is, does UOB use AI? Like I've mentioned, customer-centric in our focus, but data-heavy, data-rich. Some of you may not know, but I again urge you to go in and do some research You will find UOB has been known for, and we've won many awards for the data architecture that we have invested over the last 10, 15 years. We have one of the richest data warehouse in the region because we collected it right across all our various business segments, our customers, and across our countries, right? You will find that's what we mean by data heavy, data rich, and we have play pens, discovery play stores, actually for all our businesses to play, to discover, to monetize data, of course, albeit within laws and regulations, in order to create value proposition for our customers. If you go in, again, I'm going to cite tomorrow so that you can go in because it's one of those that we talk publicly a lot more about. You will find that actually there is a machine learning model, an AI model behind what we termed as customer engagements. The Tomorrow digital app, if you go in and try to download one, maybe there is an English version. I'm not sure whether you can fully download because I think we look for Thai phone numbers because we onboard the customers digitally throughout the process. You can open an account online without ever going to the branch. Yeah, that Tomorrow actually has no menu. It doesn't have the real the standard ones where okay you want to do payments and so on, right? Because this is a group of customers just coming out, probably don't have a lot of number of accounts and a lot of financial needs, but very important for us to engage early. As you then put on your payroll, as you open the account and you transact more, we then begin to learn more and more about the customers. Depending on what you transact on, we will then be engaging you in a very different way. Which means that if there are, 400,000 accounts or 400,000 customers, there are actually 400,000 versions of the different way we're engaging. And behind it is actually an AI model of really customizing a conversation to a segment of one. I mean, this true personalization. So depending on, maybe you have always, shop in a particular mall. And when we saw deals coming through, we will then send those relevant value engagements or insights, as we call it, to customers who then shop at those malls, as an example, and many other examples as in there. And it's a constantly learning model. As customers, the more they transact, the more we learn, the more we see, the more we are able then to tailor value to the customers. So it is a huge data store and a huge data warehouse and a huge data repository that we have, not just for credit risk purposes, but also for customer engagement and marketing purposes. And is there for the business units to discover and to use and create value together, right? So I hope I've answered those questions on data.
Oh, Susan, we do have a quick poll for all of our attendees in this session. Yeah, and maybe
Okay.
Susan, you can comment on the poll results. And the
Okay.
question is, would you work in a fintech or a bank? And the attendees, yeah, we were able to participate in this quick poll on the right-hand side of the screen.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
the fintech for everybody, I can imagine if I am out of school, I'll be so excited, right? Thinking about, it can change the world and everything else and all that. But I think, having had that working experience and having some insights in there, yes, for every 1,000 or maybe 10,000 or 100,000 fintechs, there'll be one successful one and one unicorn, right? The rest have to work really hard in there. Then we talk about work-life balance, depending on what you want. I would say more like work-life integration, right? So I think it is for some who wants the excitement of the ride, but for others who wants a bit more steady, but yet a solid foundation for you can create change because banks will be here to stay. I don't know what it will be like 10, 20 years from now, but I can say from the time I've entered banking 30 years ago, it has never been a down moment. I'm learning every day and yet creating value and being able to contribute to both the industry development as well as to the growth of the bank, right? So if you ask me, I will still say, I would prefer to work in a bank because is what I have always wanted to do. And that, when I look back, I've never regretted that decision. Banking and technology is, to me, the perfect combination, because all the processes, all the factory, how the bank operates is all in our head. And as a technologist, you have to learn how the bank operates. And it's more than just, giving a loan or taking a deposit, because in itself, how do you make money out of that, right? Is really the banking business is in the business of risk and risk management. And that's actually where the trick is and where we make money. And as a technologist in banking, we have to design systems to support that. Not just, of course, I talk about tomorrow credit card, where everybody understands that really behind the scenes is where the value is being created. I hope I answered that question, Zhang Wei.
Yes, you did. Anyway, looking at the poll,
yeah, very good.
yeah, and I can see actually 46% of our attendees right here will prefer to work in a bank, 32% a close second, fintech, and the others will be undecided for now.
Yeah, of course. Very, 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 very good answers. And I hope all of you will be able to find a role that you are able to learn, develop, grow, and have a sense of accomplishment and success. Are there any other questions that we polled?
Yeah, so to maybe the last question that I can give you from the polling, right? There is one question that asks, what is the next step for the banking industry since the previous stage, which was focused on the interconnectedness, has largely been achieved? I think that would be quite interesting for you.
Okay, now for everybody, banking is a very interesting industry. Banking has always been about networks. So if you think the SWIFT payment networks, the credit card networks, and the banks has always learned to network, collaborate, while we compete for our customers' share of the business in the economy, right? So in that sense, yes, you may think interconnectedness seems to be common and is done. It is not done, because there's always new networks that's being created, right? If you think about China, the success of Alibaba in China and everything else, as they come into Southeast Asia, as they come into Singapore, how will that evolve and take shape? So as banking, we need to look at those trends. How do we play that is of value and yet create and protect our brand of trust and create value for our customers, right? And customers can be a consumer or an SME or corporate or financial institutions. They are all our customers. So the connectedness, the challenge in connectedness has never gone away. But with technology, it gets more interesting, more complex, but also more exciting, and more value can be created out of it today. And we are just at the tip of that iceberg, and it's not over yet, right? So for those who think, is done, is not done. But UOB has always looked at that and have the foresight to say, this is where we need to be, but we need to embrace that the digital economy is an open economy. And we need to bring everybody along, and we want to be part of that open economy and not to close it. I hope I answered that question.
Okay, Susan, I think we have time for a few more questions actually. Yeah, so there's a question that says, hi Susan, how do non-tech undergraduates looking for banking roles better prepare for such technological changes?
Okay, that's also a very, very good question. For non-tech, that means you haven't gone to school to say, talk about coding or development and so on. I think coding is important, yeah, just to give you a feel of the complexity, because coding can fail, and then in a system, a banking system cannot afford to fail, right? So you need to have that appreciation that you can do at the side, whether you have an aptitude or an attitude for it, does not matter. Just have a flavor. That would be my advice. Yeah. So that, you know, when you talk to a tech colleague and the tech said, no, this is difficult because I have to do this, I have to test this, I have to look at these conditions, you have an appreciation of the complexity of the build and why technology investments can sometimes be so huge, right? Having said that, not everyone needs to be a super duper coder in order to be working in technology or working in operations or working in the business. Yeah, just an appreciation. But as you move and you develop into your career, that appreciation will be the foundation for which you will learn. Because like what I said, the entire world, the economy is going digital. And therefore the ability to understand trends, business model changes as a result of enabling these trends becomes very key to survival, be it in banking or in any other businesses, right? As our businesses during this COVID, for instance, has to learn, right? Okay, customers come to us. Can I use now Grab? But how do I get my services on so that customers know that I am now online and I can do delivery, for instance, for some of our retailers? That is an appreciation of technology, appreciation of its usage, appreciation of its connectedness and possibilities, and then after that, customer design and marketing and all that, that is now on a digital platform, right? So if you think about that, the whole business model is what is key, but it is really enabled through technology. So appreciation is important. So for all the non-tech students out there, just have that appreciation either in your spare time or look for a career or look for an organization like within UOB. When we do projects, our project teams are not just pure tech teams. We have people from operations who understand risk. We have risk management staff who understands risk management and compliance. We have people from the businesses who looks at customer engagement and marketing, and we come together to brainstorm and then create that solution. All right. So for all the non-tech staff, you can still be part of this world and part of this change. And it's a very important part because we need to embrace the new way of working in a digital era. And that is, I think, key to that is just having an appreciation so that you understand how to manage it. Because amongst you, be it tech or non-tech, amongst you one day, someone could be a CEO of a bank. And as a CEO of a bank, you need to, and at that point, 20 years, 30 years from now, you have other new challenges. But you still need to operate the bank, know how to manage the risk and all that. You may not be an expert in all areas, but you need to have an appreciation. And one of the key appreciation is really the operating risk, for which technology risk is one of those. So having an appreciation of that, able to create value and solutions, and yet manage its risk that is it poses to the system or as we're operating that platform, allows you then to scale to be a leader of managing a complex operations. All right, I hope I answered that. And I think there are ways on which you can get an appreciation. It will be an important element where you need to understand how to manage and use technology to its fullest. But it doesn't mean you have to be a coder.
Okay, Susan. So last question. You mentioned that UOB is an equal opportunities employer. Could you share about the opportunities that you have received in your career at UOB?
Okay. So, like I said in UOB, right? First and foremost, I'm female. In increasingly, people will say in technology is quite heavily male dominated. Yeah. But maybe I was fortunate. I started very early in my careers where there are lots of opportunities alike for both male and female. But within UOB, right, if you think UOB has always grown through acquisitions. We've bought banks. We bought banks in Indonesia. We bought banks in Singapore. We bought banks in Thailand. With it, then comes the expansion, integration, complexity. And technology and operations being the heart of it, you're always playing one of the key roles in ensuring and supporting and enabling that change, right? Couldn't have happened if UOB does not expand. Yeah? And we have a history of that. The second one is then, I started as a technology head within UOB, and then later on in about 10 years ago, they've given me operations back office. And we are supposed to digitize those operations as we then expand throughout Asia. Right? So in there, we have created offshore operation centers, for instance, in Malaysia. We are now trying to look at how unified communications can build the next digital service centers, no longer call centers or contact centers, but digital service centers eventually, because the world will become more and more digital and visits to the branches becomes less frequent. How do we then transform that unit for the future to support our digital ambitions, right? So all these are opportunities along the way, and that's because UOB has been growing steadily despite the economic crisis. We are prudent, we are conservative, but we are proudly so, because we're here for the long term, because then it helps build our careers as the bank grows and expands in a steady way, because then we can help the bank transform. Right? So those opportunities are given, but it's really also, all of you, if there's one advice I can give to all of you as students, always be on the lookout for opportunities. Yeah. Always, put up your hand for the bigger projects or the riskier projects, because the bigger the project, the more you can learn. The more you can learn, the bigger projects takes more risk. The more risk, if you do well, be passionate about what you do and contribute and make sure it's successful, you have visibility. Within that visibility, then, there will be more and more opportunities, right? And UOB, what we've shown is, male, female, 50-50, so it's quite a balanced organization. We have, like I shared with you, even embrace adults with autism, adults who are deaf, and they are very much part of our fabric in Singapore's operations. And they are, really one of us that are integrated into the unit, and they are, performing really well, right? So there are all aspects of that you can see, because the key notion to UOB has always been sustainable, and therefore we look for talents that builds that sustainability, and it's talents that we're looking at. I hope I answered that question too. Huh?
Yes. So thank you all for all of your amazing questions, and also to Susan for the enriching discussion and sharing. We really appreciate your time enlightening us on banking and technology, as well as how UOB fits into the Asian banking landscape. Also, sharing with the attendees about your journey as a tech leader in banking is very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I wish all of you good success, in your job hunt, and to stay safe and to stay healthy.
Yes. And also do remember Susan's advice to everyone, which is always to take hold of opportunities and never give up. And thank you once again, Susan. Okay, so let's move on to the final half of today's session on our MA and other programs. For full-time positions, UOB is currently hiring for the 2021 batch of Management Associates. About the program itself, it takes place over a period of 18 months, and you will undergo an accelerated induction experience to fast-track your career in the banking industry. This program is available across the APAC region and is designed to nurture our next generation of leaders across the region. This is where you will learn and appreciate different aspects of the business within one of our business segments or corporate functions of your choice. You will also develop necessary skills to understand and deal with today's unpredictable banking landscape, and also to identify emerging opportunities. As you can see from this slide, the 18 months program will ensure that you have a wide-ranging experience in all aspects of the bank. It is well-rounded and designed to allow you to understand the bank from a broader perspective. You will also get a chance to have an overseas rotation as well as other overseas opportunities. And some countries that previous Singapore MAs went to for their overseas rotations include China as well as Thailand. So that can be quite an eye-opening experience as you experience banking in other countries. Also, on top of what I have mentioned, you will also have exposure to senior leaders, and you can observe and understand their decision-making processes, which will actually help you understand more from a strategic perspective. And you can feel free to start dropping questions about the MA program on the right-hand side of your screen. The HR team and me will be discussing and answering these questions later on in the Q&A. I will actually briefly talk about my own MA program experience from my own perspective. To introduce myself, I do not really have a background in technology. I was a finance undergraduate, but having a background in finance and interest in technology, I was definitely looking for roles that are able to cover both aspects. What made me apply to UOB's MA program, in addition to what I'm looking for, is that added broad perspective and bird's eye view of the organization, increased networking opportunities, and leadership interaction that honestly can't really find elsewhere. And you might be asking me why UOB? Well, having spoken to senior executives and leaders during the networking sessions that were organized to understand the MA program better, it has actually led me to feel the high level of support and care the bank has towards its employees, as well as the forward-looking vision of UOB itself. I would say that the overall experience in the program is not an easy one. There will be obstacles here and there. There are certain expectations for MAs which we would need to maintain and, if possible, exceed. This actually molded me into a more well-balanced and resilient individual. I'm ready to take on challenges and open to obtaining new skills if needed, as well as becoming increasingly more adaptable and learning to communicate with tact. Perhaps I'll also share a few tips that could be useful for participants to understand the program better, as well as how to do well in the interviews for management associates. So I think there is some sort of a misconception that you need a business degree to qualify for the program. This is actually not true. The MA program welcomes applicants with a degree in any discipline. But that being said, it will always be better if you have a keen interest in the financial sector, of course, and in particular banking. And this will also make sure that you will be of a good fit within the bank. Also, the whole selection process is a holistic one, so don't be mistaken that only applicants with first-class honors can get in. That is also not true. And what the bank is looking for is actually a whole set of qualities, ranging from leadership track records, adaptability, drive, and as well as your personal values and whether they are similar to UOB's core values. And UOB also doesn't judge based on your academic achievements alone. And right now you can see from the slide that is our application process. So you need to do the application, and if you're selected for the first round, go through a psychometric assessment. Then after that, if you pass that, video interview, and if you pass that again, assessment center and the panel interview, and you'll go on to the offer stage. And I would say that for your assessment center in particular, and for me myself, right, it will most likely be the one that you will be very nervous about, because I think some people they do not have any experience with assessment center kind of testing. It will be rigorous. It will last around half a day. And so on the day itself, so just remember to dress well, be well rested, just be yourself and respond truthfully. And it will certainly be nerve-wracking, but overall, it will be a very interesting and enriching experience, and you can laugh about it later on your assessment center. Yeah. So anyway, that's enough about me, and I'm actually seeing some questions coming through on WebEx. Okay. So with me, I have my HR colleagues, Danielle, and she will also be helping with the Q&A session. And one of the questions that I can see is, when will the application for MA program open? It will open on the 11th of August.
Actually, 1st of August, it has already opened. Yeah. So maybe Zhang, could I ask you a question? And then that's something that you can share with the rest of them. So just a quick introduction of myself to everyone. My name is Danielle. I'm from HR, and I'm from the campus recruitment team. So my first question to you, Zhang, is that, obviously it's a tech role in banking, and how then you personally prepare yourself for this role in the MA position?
Right. So as I mentioned, right, I don't have a strictly tech background. I have that interest in tech. So your rotations most likely for tech MA will kind of a little bit be more centered within GTO. However, of course, there are other opportunities that you can go to outside of GTO. But in order to prepare for it, I would say that the best thing you can do is to learn about the requirements of that particular department beforehand. Let's say a certain skill is needed, like certain programming skill is needed. You just have to attend some crash courses on it, just read up on it, and learn it as fast as you can before you get into that department. And I think that is good in the sense that it trains you to be a self-learner, trains you to adapt better to whatever situation that comes to you. You know, if you understand that, oh, okay, I'm not a tech person, but I can prepare to be a tech person, and that gives you extra confidence in your other rotations. That is what I would say. Do something that is out of your comfort level, and that mindset will probably stick with you throughout life. Do it frequently enough.
So Zhang, there's another question for you, and that is, what has been the biggest obstacle for you personally since joining the MA program?
Okay, biggest obstacle. Okay, I would say the biggest obstacle is to be able to juggle a whole load of responsibilities that you'll be given as an MA. So your MA program doesn't just mean that you'll be going through different rotations, and your work will be constrained within a rotation. But as I mentioned, you still need to do some learning outside of your rotation, and as well as attend training that is totally outside of your rotation in order to understand the banking landscape better. And there is I guess time management will come up as an issue for most MAs, but gradually you learn how to manage your time better, and you kind of cut out procrastination in a sense. That is what I learned about myself. I tend to procrastinate a lot previously, yeah, because I felt that I have quite a lot of time before joining the MA program. When I was at school, I tend to procrastinate, but since you are in the real world now, and the MA program is something that is quite demanding on your time, you tend to move faster and not waste time. Yeah, that's what I would say. The biggest obstacle that I have to overcome.
Okay, thanks, Zhang. Okay, we do have another question which I will take. So I think there are a couple of people who have asked, whether there can be an indication of your interest within the MA program. So I'll just run through a little bit. Earlier on, Zhang has shared about the application process. So once you are successful after the psychometric assessment and the video interview, at least in Singapore, what we would do is that we will actually invite you down for a virtual career forum. So at this career forum, you will get a chance to meet the various respective business units that are bringing their MAs in. And at that career forum, you will be able to ask questions that will interest you, and also to find out a little bit more about how you can personally with what you to the various respective business units. And we have this really is to help you to make your choice with your home division. And once you've undergone that, then you will go into the assessment center. And those people that are not from Singapore, if you apply to the rest of the regions, you will also be given a descriptor as to which are the home divisions that are hiring, and then you will be able to select your home division before you enter into the assessment center. There was another question about how then can you stay relevant or show relevance and competitiveness in the MA program. And I think if you look at this slide over here, you'll notice that you will go through various rotations, and every rotation can be quite different, and I think Wei can attest to that. And the fact that some of these areas you may not even be familiar with, I think what will make a very key difference is your ability to pick up the new skills, your ability to be agile and flexible, and having a very strong growth mindset. And I think that would be something that Wei will also share, right, Wei? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's
Yes,
something that
you're right.
yeah, you really have to pick up fast, because each rotation is 3 months, and that's all you have to actually execute the task ahead of you, and also the project. Yeah, so that's the answer. I hope I answered the question to whoever that asked that. All right. So to Wei, there is
Yep.
a question about, how is the what's the process like in deciding what your rotations are? Maybe you want to share that?
Okay. So the process in deciding your rotations, right? Firstly, it has to meet the criteria that is laid out in this slide. So in this slide, we have four essential criteria from 02, 03, 04, and 05. So your rotations, it has to meet one of those criteria. Uh, as in four of the rotations needs to meet those four criteria, and you can actually speak to your home division supervisor, who is your supervisor or over the entire course of the MA program. He or she will be your point of contact across all rotations. So he or she will also be sort of your mentor for the MA program, and kind of decide where you would place after the MA program. So it is important to speak to your home division supervisor to discuss the rotations that will be useful for you in the future, or as someone in the banking industry. So for me, I'm from technology, right? So your rotations must kind of make sense for that role itself, and it really depends on your home division supervisor to approve of your different rotations. And sure that if you are able to convince and your supervisor that, oh, this rotation will be beneficial to me as an individual and to my future role in your team, that would be pretty much good enough, I would say.
Okay, so there are other questions as well. I think there are some questions with people asking.
Actually, I can see one question that was assigned to me on my Webex. Can I share with, or can you share with us the most memorable or valuable learning opportunity at UOB?
Sure,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, I'll answer that. Okay. Yeah. So as you know, the MA program, you will be joining it with a bunch of peers. So so for me, I interact quite daily with my SG, with my MA peers, because of course they're based in SG, so it's easier to interact with them. So each of them will be on different rotations, and it is always great to chat with them about the different rotations that they went through, what they have learned, and what let's say if you are going to that rotation, what can you prepare yourself for? And in learning about their rotations, you also kind of learn about um, the rotation itself, as in the department itself that they are in, and what does that department do. And that in itself gives yourself and the MA quite a broad perspective of what the bank does. So uh, uh, as you can see, like even for SGMAs themselves, right, there are like 18 of them, and they will be going through around 5 to 6 rotations each, right? So there are so many departments that you can learn about, and that is something that will be very enriching to your knowledge about UOB itself. So I would say that will be a very valuable learning opportunity. Um, the connection with your MAs, and all the knowledge that you can actually get from them. Yeah.
Thanks, Stanway. So there are a couple of questions. I think it's more HR related. So whether we actually hire or will we apply for employment pass for those who apply from international students? The answer is yes. And in fact, this year our 2020 intake, we've got people from UK. We've also got people from China. So again, that shouldn't stop you from applying for our program. The other question is when will the application close, and also what are the timelines? What does it look like? So application will close on the 30th of September. Um, you will, throughout this application period, you will have the applicants going through the psychometric test and also the video interview. Our assessment center, you can expect to undergo it in September and the beginning of also November. And our career forums will be in September and October. So then after undergoing the career forum, you will be able to have a clearer picture of the business units that are hiring, and also that will give you the opportunity to select your home division. And then the panel interviews will go on around October into November, and by December, you should have already secured a position with us. Okay. And the other question we have is, do you offer younger undergrad any opportunities? Okay, we do have actually a summer internship program, and in fact, the application will start in September. And this summer internship program, it is a fast track into our MA program, meaning to say that once you have successfully undergone our program, and you will be expected to also deliver a project presentation. And once those components are fulfilled and you are successful coming out of the program, you will then be straight through into the panel interview once you graduate. So do check out our career page in September and apply accordingly. Okay. All right. May I know, we have a question. May I know when does the MA application close? And in view of the COVID situation, will UOB be reducing the intake of MA? And the short answer is no, we're not. We are still hiring for MAs, and so please apply. Applications are already open. Another one, again, another HR question, is it available for fresh master's graduate? And the answer is yes. Even if you have a master's, you have a master's, please apply as well. Yes. Okay, for those of you, I know this entire thing is all about the Management Associate Program. And if you feel that, hey, maybe this really isn't for you, we do have SG United traineeship positions that are available as well. So do check that out. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much all the questions that we have for the MA and also the opportunities. Okay, maybe one last question, and this will go out to Tanwei.
Okay.
Okay, psychometric tests. right? You went through it yourself, right? How
Yeah.
would you advise any interested applicants to better prepare for that?
Psychometric test. That is the one where they test your IQ or something, right?
Is it too long ago that you forgot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a while ago.
that would have been the very first stage where you were invited to do the psychometric test and the video interview.
Yeah. So for the psychometric test itself, I don't think there's any way to prepare because it's I think it's more of an IQ test or something. I mean, you have the shapes and whatnot. I don't really know how to tell you how to prepare, to be honest. Maybe there are practice questions online. I don't know.
Okay, maybe I can help for that. Okay, I mean I've heard other students talk about this before, right? And basically they say just apply for different organizations and get to do as many tests as possible, because then that gives you like a little bit more insights as to what to expect. And
Yeah,
basically, in short, you get better at it. So there's no hard and fast other than practice, and you can only do that if you apply and you actually get opportunity to do the psychometric test. So yes, I hope that helps. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same for the assessment center. I mean, just be well rested. Just be well rested. Yeah. So
Yes.
keep your mind
Based on
fresh.
your well-rested advice, you've gotten into the program successfully. So I guess that worked. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all the questions that we have. So Wei, you can take it from here.
Okay. Yeah. So now we have come to our session, the end of our session today. So thank you so much for tuning in on WebEx and YouTube Live. And I hope all of you have learned some valuable insights about how you can use tech knowledge to change banking from Susan. And I hope that you feel more empowered to kickstart your career in banking. If you wish to learn more about what's it like to be an MA, subscribe to the UOB's YouTube channel to learn more about our day in the life videos. If you go to our UOB YouTube channel, you can actually find that. It's quite interesting. I'm featured in it as well as my MA peers. Yeah, so remember the application for our MA program in Singapore will start on the 1st of August. So yes, pass. So you can just go in and apply. If you are Singaporean but they are not that keen on the MA program, please look out for them. Please look out for our SG United traineeships. Lastly, for those who are not graduating yet, you can actually apply for our summer internship program, which will open from the 1st of September to 30th of November 2020. For more information, yes, you can actually scan this QR code to check out UOB's career page and to find out more exciting opportunities and specific application dates for the various jobs and opportunities. So thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to welcoming you at UOB soon. Take care and stay safe, everyone. Bye.